Just this once. And I want to
subscribe.
Kaizoku.
This video is brought to you by Adakai TCG. Shop the latest in premium holographic textured custom One Piece cards. Designed for collectors, crafted to stand out. Use code Kaizoku for 15% off your next order. This video is sponsored by Gungam.gg. See Western OP11 list and Eastern OP12 list on Gungam.gg. Updated daily. Be the first to see decks for new leaders as they emerge. With over 1,000 deck lists per set, Gungam.gg has all the top strategies as soon as they drop. This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. So this video is going to be sort of a continuation of that video I did previously on what cards to buy in preparation for OP12. This video is going to be more focused on if you're a new player, what decks you should consider buying to get into the game if the cost of the deck is a priority for you. Right, at different budget points, I have decks here that would fit whatever kind of amount of money that you're willing to spend on this game. This is also for people who mainly play online and want to invest in IRL cards finally. This would be helpful for you. So I've broken it down into these tiers here. So good and cheap, these are under $100 decks that do top, like in the top 16, you'll see these decks show up. They're not bad decks by any regards. I would consider these meta decks. And just right off the bat, this isn't a video discussing the placement of the decks in the meta. I know that's like a whole can of worms that can be dedicated into like its own video. So if you don't agree with some of the classifications on some decks being meta or not, that's fine. It's a very loose kind of definition in this particular video. We'll do like a tier list video later where we can argue in the comments, but this is just quick and dirty. I just wanted to show the prices of decks here. And then the second tier here is good and cheap-ish. So I consider cheapish to be $100 to $200, where it's still, it's not an insignificant amount, but it's not like an exorbitant amount, right? It's still within like, oh, this is my hobby. I do it for fun. I only spend a couple $100 or so. And then we have Offmeta and Cheap. So these are decks that are still good, but they don't show up as much in the meta. And then we have Offmeta and Cheapish. So yeah, it's still not a top performing deck, but $100 to $200 in cost. And then we have all the OP12 leaders in its own category. Most of the OP12, I would say all of them, run mostly OP12 cards in their packages. And of course, since the set's not released yet, we don't know how much those cards are going to cost. So we can't really recommend it. But if you're going to buy OP12 sealed as like your first sealed product, and if you're going to buy like a couple of boxes, yeah, you probably might be able to build out some of these decks already, or at least get really close. And then the sweat tier are top meta decks that cost $200 plus each. These are what you're going to see at every tournament in the like top 4, top 8s. And they have the price to match that performance too. So if you're really serious about getting into the game and you want to invest in a deck, this tier would be the tier I would look at. Then we're going to go over deck lists for each particular leader. You see up on this tier list here, I am pulling the deck list from the most played version of whatever leader I'm looking at. And this is looking at Eastern OP12 data. If you're going to get weirded out by any of the lists, or if you have like complaints about any of the lists, I didn't make any of these lists. These are the most played by you guys. So this is your own sauce. This is the sauce you guys cooked up. So yeah, don't blame me for any of these lists that you're about to see either. So first off, right off the bat, if you're brand new to the game, you want to dive right into playing with all of us, I would say the easiest barrier to entry would be just to pick up the starter decks I just released, these ones that came out in June, with some caveats. So I would say Shanks, Buggy, Teach, and Yamato would be the cheapest, and then Bonnie and Black Purple Luffy are where it gets to like the sweat category, as we saw on the tier list, right? Bonnie's here, Luffy's here. If you want like a cheap start, I would pick any of these 4 here, with Yamato being the most expensive out of these 4. And then you're going to want to buy 2 of these to get the full playset of the SRs in these decks, because those cards are key to playing these decks. So let's take a look at the first leader here. So Shanks deck will run you about $82 as of today. This is late July. The only OP12 card that is run in Shanks is this blocker Shanks that's new. Everything else in the deck you can pre-buy early. I don't think this new Shanks being a rare is going to make this go above $100. So yeah, a sub $100, still pretty good deck. Shanks used to be like top dog in the format until Blue Purple Luffy came along, but still puts in respectable results. Oh, also a feature of my deck builder, these shopping cart links, when you click the show prices button, will take you to TCG Player for the cheapest variation of a particular card that you're clicking. So if you wanted to buy the cards out that way, and that's what I'm using to base off of these prices too, that's there for your convenience. And also there's a mass entry button. If you click that, it copies the entire deck list to your clipboard actually. You just Control V, add the whole thing to your cart, optimize it on TCG Player's optimize tool, And that's a really quick way, convenient way for you to just buy out these cards outright. And it goes through my affiliate link too, so if you wanted to help me in a passive way and you're going to buy these cards anyway, this would be like no-brainer to do, right? So that's Shanks for you. Who's up next? Up next is Buggy. So Buggy costs $48. Now he doesn't run any OP12 cards. Oh yes he does. This vanilla, which is just an uncommon, so this would probably only add like $1 or $2 to this deck's price. So it's a sub $50 deck, even less than Shanks, like half the price of Shanks. I would say Buggy at the moment has a higher meta performance than Shanks does. So if you want like probably like the most cheap top meta deck, I would say Buggy is your best bet at the moment, especially for a sub $50 deck. And most of his cards do come from the starter deck too. So yeah, not much you're gonna have to like find in terms of singles, loose singles or anything like that. Then up next we have Teach. So Teach costs $50.39 for his deck. From the looks of it, no OP12 cards, so you can buy his complete deck as of today. You don't need to wait for OP12 to release. A $50 deck at the moment. Now this deck in particular is not beginner friendly. You do kind of have to know a lot of game sense about other leaders and then the game in general to play this leader effectively. So while it is cheap, yeah, I think there's a learning curve to this deck. So if you like complicated decks, if you're like coming from another card game that has a bunch of complicated mechanics and that's kind of the playstyle you like, yeah, I would consider Teach. But if you're looking for like a simple deck that is also cheap and good, I wouldn't try Teach out as my very first deck, at least. Unless it's your favorite character, and by which all means go for it. So up next is Kid, and I had to move him down a tier. I just realized his deck is actually not super cheap. But let's take a look at his deck list. So yeah, his deck, most of it is available except for 2 cards in particular. So there's this promo law. I don't think we still know how we're gonna get this. It is coming out in PRB02, I believe, but that's not going to come to us for a while, and then I don't know which events that this is going to be given out at for us, but I would imagine it's going to be a pretty penny just because of the scarcity of it. And then Kuma is a new OP12 card. It's the secret rare of the set. It is a pretty good generic yellow secret rare, so it might not be as cheap as we expect. I would assume that he's going to be like maybe $10 each, so it's like $40 here. So this would bring Kid into like the $100 to $200 range. But yeah, Kid has been putting in a lot of good results in the East recently. It's catapulted him to being one of the top decks in the East. And it's quite a simple deck to play. So if you're looking to play a very simple but strong deck that is in the $100 to $200 range, that's not buggy, I think Kid is a good option to pick up too. Up next is Yamato. So Yamato on average costs $92.54. The only new cards added are the Kumas, which we're going to assume is going to be like $40 for a full playset. And then 2 Dead Man's Game, which is just a rare. So in the like low 100s range. Now Yamato is not as meta as Kid and Buggy, so do keep that in mind when playing this deck. It's kind of a feast or famine kind of deck, right? It's a very aggressive and try to like banish your opponent's life kind of deck. But if aggro is your playstyle, I think Yamato would fit for you. Up next we have Lucci. So Lucci is your premier removal deck. The meta of removal revolves around how many decks counter removal at the moment. Buggy is like the premier counter to Lucci, so that's kind of why Lucci has kind of faded in popularity recently. But if decks that counter Buggy get popular in the meta and Buggy is less prevalent, then yeah, Lucci would just come right back to kill everything in the meta just because that's what his deck does. And he does not run any OB12 cards at all, so you can buy his entire deck out. He only costs $153 now. He used to cost a lot more back when he was top meta, so this is probably the most affordable that he's been. I would say that Lucci is always going to be relevant in the meta, right? Even if there are removal counters in the game, he'll find ways to get around it. It seems like he's survived through like 3 different bans now, and he's still not in the shitter, right? He's still a pretty good, decent deck. So if removal is your favorite kind of playstyle, I would say Lucci is your best entryway into removal in the One Piece card game. Then we have Red Green Smoker. So Red Green Smoker costs $125 for their deck. Only new cards being the Mihawk Secret SR. 4 copies of him. He might actually be a pretty penny because he's universally used in every green deck at the moment. 2 Koshiros, which is just an uncommon, so it's not going to cost much at all. 1 Dead Man's Game, which is a rare. 4 Peronas might also be a pretty penny just because like any deck that you run Mihawk, you run Perona just because it's a really, really good searcher, but only usable in slash attribute leaders. But like Smoker and Zoro, the 2 premier decks that run this card are slash attribute leaders. Even like green yellow log can run it too. And then lastly, there's this blocker secret rare Bonnie, which is from OP12 as well. This one is less used than Kuma, and yeah, not every green deck runs this, so it will definitely be a lot cheaper. I would say maybe OP12 would add about, I don't know, $50 more to this deck, so still within the $100 to $200 range. And Smoker is the deck all about getting additional Dawn for the turn, because you can untap Dawn, you can untap extra Dawn with a lot of your characters. It has evolved into more of an aggressive style deck than it has been before, just because in the past it was a Kid Fortress deck, but not anymore these days. Then up next is Zoro and Sanji. So Zoro and Sanji will cost you 130, 162 for the full deck, besides the Koshiro and then the Kozaburos, which are really cheap cards from OP12. So I can't imagine this costing any more than 135. But yeah, this was a deck that made waves in one of the championship series in Japan where it got to the finals. It ended up losing, but it made it to top 2. So really surprising results. Made people remember how good the deck was. Then we'll move on to the Offmeta and Cheap tier. So these are decks, again, that aren't as competitively viable, but still strong decks in their own regard. First up, we have Kalgara. So Kalgara, his entire deck at the moment with available cards is under $20. It's $16. The only cards you're going to need to add are this rare Kalgara, and then Swiper uncommon, and then 2 of the Kumas, which we're going to assume are going to be like $10 maybe. So it's still going to be a sub $50 deck for Kalgara when all things are said and done. And Kalgara is a deck that's all about cheating out bodies and taking life to do it. But we have an extra Kalgara character to trigger off of this Nolan to heal with. Up next is Reiju. So Reiju costs $36.63. She does not contain any OP12 cards in her deck, so you can buy the entire Reiju deck out right now and play it early, get practice with it. This deck is all about Dawn minusing to get a bunch of extra effects out, right? You can play your 2-cost Reijus and your 4-cost Ichijis to play out their 4-cost versions and 7-cost versions respectively. And it's all about drawing cards with Reiju and then attacking with Ichiji with Rush. Up next is Bello Betty. So Bello Betty used to be meta back when Blue Purple Luffy was like the top deck, but now he kind of shares that spot with Green Zoro, which, yeah, Green Zoro has a better chance into Betty than Blue Purple Luffy did. So kind of turned Betty from a deck that countered the meta to like a kind of a triangle kind of meta situation here. But her deck is insanely cheap for a top meta viable deck, so it's only $34.37 for the entire deck. No new cards needed. This is like one of the most aggressive decks in the game, just because you're able to get 9k in stats from just trashing a card from your hand with this leader ability. Then there's Blue Nami. So Blue Nami is a really cheap deck that it's like an alternate win condition deck. So if those are the kind of playstyles you like to play, like in Magic, if you're a mill deck, it's kind of different where in One Piece, it's a self-mill deck. You have to deck out to win with this Nami. As far as we have at the moment, this is the only alternate win condition leader in the game. So if you just like playing the games in different ways and trying to be special, yeah, Nami is a deck for you. Unfortunately, it's very cheap to get set up. Nami's just going to be like just shy of $50 to build out. And like half of the value is just 4 Love Mellows, which you're going to need, unfortunately. And then rounding off the Offmeta and Cheap tier is Kobe. So Kobe is going to be $58.44. No OP12 cards needed. I feel like Kobe has a really strong package, really strong theme. He just needs some more like hitters to make the deck kind of catch up with everybody else, right? He released where he was able to attack active characters and debuff, but then Green Zoro kind of does the same thing but better because he can attack your opponent's leader afterwards too. So Kobe just needs to like hone in on his identity, but they haven't printed the support for him to do that just yet. But if you wanted to play him, if you like Kobe as a character, he still does decently well. It's $60 to build him out, the entire deck, no new cards needed. And then we move on to the Offmeta and Cheapish tier. So Zoro is up here. So Zoro is going to run you $172. Quite the pretty penny for a deck that's mostly just chopper cards, but it's a really aggressive deck. It's a weenie deck. You're playing a bunch of characters out, making them 5 or 6k attacks to swing at your opponent multiple times. Most expensive card in the deck being the Mole Pistol, which is from the starter deck 21. Oh, and then the EB01 choppers are expensive too. But I would say, yeah, this chopper card is kind of necessary. You can't slack on the choppers in this deck. But yeah, if Zoro's your favorite character, or if Chopper's your favorite character, this would be the deck for you, and you like playing a weenie, go wide kind of style deck. Up next is Blue Yellow Nami. So Blue Yellow Nami these days costs $53.04 without any of the OP12 cards. So Kuma, we're going to surmise this is $40, so that brings it up to $90. Odin from the starter deck, that's not released yet. It won't release for us until like August, which is, I think we'll have OP12 by then, right? Or the other way around. They're both releasing at the same time. So I would just factor in the cost of buying the starter decks to this Odin's price. So that would bring it to like just above $100. And then we have no idea how we're going to get this Shoujo promo card. At least I'm not aware of at the time of recording. But if it's going to be super rare to get, yeah, it's going to be a pretty penny to have this card. And you kind of want it. It's pretty good for your deck. It always gives you the Dawn needed for your leader ability. Right? People used to run the 2-cost Teach in place of
young girl here, but I think shoujo is a lot more thematic and a lot better too, because you don't have to minus a card in hand to get access to that Dawn. But yeah, if Nami's your favorite character, this would be an interesting deck. I feel like Nami never has like a traditional like full support package. She just runs a bunch of good yellow and blue cards. So yeah, the Nami list you see today will probably change a couple sets later, just because she's just running whatever good stuff is in these two colors. So I would say that it's a deck that you're gonna have to reinvest in if you want to keep playing it, unfortunately. Lastly, in the Offmeta and Cheapish tier is Enel. So Enel is going to cost you $91 with the current available cards. If we consider the Kumas to be 40, sets it above like 130-ish. The Sabo probably not going to cost much as a rare. So yeah, like a $130, $140 deck. Enel is like a turtle style deck, right? You're able to heal a lot of extra times. You play your late game to heal 2. Makes it hard for your opponent to kill you. So if you like grinding out games, taking it low and slow, Enel is for you. Then we're going to skip over all the OP12 leaders just because we're not going to know how much their decks are going to cost. So we'll take a look at the sweaty decks. So if you're really, really committed to playing this game at the top level and you want to just go balls in, playing the top best decks in the format at the moment, these are the decks for you. Well, except for Green, Yellow, La, and Purple Luffy, they're kind of less meta, but I would say Bonnie, Blue, Purple Luffy, and Green, Purple Luffy at the very least are like top 5 decks. We'll take a look at each one here. So Bonnie is 267 without OP12 cards. You're gonna need to add 2 Koshido, 2 of the Secret Bonnie, and then 4 Mihawk. So could get up there in the $300 range to play green. Green used to be one of the worst colors, now it's one of the best colors just because of OP12. And yeah, super sweaty deck. If you want to be a top meta player, you want to invest in these green cards. Then we have Purple Black Luffy, 290. Most of the Purple Luffy leaders, just because they share a lot of the same cards, are going to cost a lot. So I would say this one's like the 3rd most meta of the Purple Luffy leaders. And this isn't even accounting for this Robin, which is a SR. And it's a Robin card too, it's a waifu, so it's probably going to be a pretty penny. So I would assume this is going to be a $300 plus deck too. The most expensive card being this freaking EB02 Rush Luffy. And then we have Blue Purple Luffy, considerably the best deck in the format. With the price tag to match it, it's $205 for this guy. Runs no new OP12 cards, but still the top deck of the meta. Right, most of the tournaments you're gonna see that you have seen in the East, it's like the top 16 is like 50% Blue Purple Luffy's most of the time. It's the deck to beat, and if you want to join the ranks of that, yeah, it's gonna be a $300 investment for you. And then Green Purple Luffy, also one of the top 5 decks at the moment. Also a Purple Luffy leader. So far seems to be the most expensive of them all at $351, and that's not even accounting for Dead Man's Game, but that's not gonna cost much at all. So yeah, it's incredibly expensive deck, but this is like an incredibly explosive deck too, right? It's like offensive, defensive, swarmy, able to like utilize this Luffy to double attack, able to defend itself with Gungam Giant. It's kind of a jack of all trades, but also like master of every trade. That's why this deck is so good. Then we have Purple Luffy, who has kind of fallen from grace since OP11, OP10, where he was up there with Green Purple Luffy and Blue Purple Luffy. But at the moment, this Purple Luffy deck costs $273. He's a pure Purple Luffy deck. All of his cards are available, so if you want to build this out, that's the price tag for you. One of my favorite decks, personally. It's a very simple deck to play, but still very strong. I guess it just needs to adapt to the new meta. I don't know. Would love to see this leader get popular again, but yeah, not the... I would maybe consider it not worth the price if you're trying to be competitive with the cards that you're going to buy. And lastly, we have Green Yellow La, $257.92. Then this is without just the Peronas and then the Dead Man's Game. So this isn't going to cost too much more, right? I would say like maybe Perona's going to add, I don't know, $20 max. So yeah, Green Yellow La, a really tricksy deck because you're having to like maximize the efficiency of all your cards for the turn to combo in a way that gives you the most amount of Dawn and the most amount of value. But despite that, it's also not a top meta deck either for the price tag. It's kind of that Purple Luffy kind of scenario where it's not a bad deck by any regard, right? I would say it's like a at least top 15 deck, but for the price that you're going to pay for this, you can get pretty close to building out like the literally best deck in the format in Blue Purple Luffy, or even like invest into the new OP12 leaders, right? I kind of ordered it in the order of what I think they're going to cost. So Green Zoro is definitely going to be the most expensive, just because we see like a lot of the green slash package is just expensive on its own already. And then Rayleigh is going to be expensive after that, and then Kuzan, and then I would say Koala, Rosinante, and then Sanji. This is the order I'm going to have to guess that the price of these decks are going to be. But if I had to like assume ahead of time, I would probably put like, this would be here for sure. Kuzan would be like good and cheap. Rayleigh would be like Offmeta and cheap. No, he's good and cheapish. And then these three, I wouldn't even consider them off meta. They kind of are struggling a bit. So yeah, that is my tier list on if you're a new player different price points of decks that you can consider buying to start the game with. Let me know if this helped you make a decision on what decks to invest in. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the video. And if you're a new viewer, subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. I do a bunch of other kind of videos, gameplay videos, analysis videos. I even do like tournament live reactions too, with like live annotations on screen, like in sportscasters. That'll be it for now. I hope this video was helpful for somebody. And if you're a new viewer and you're curious about all these tools I'm using and how to access them, I built all these by hand. These are all made by me. These are all bespoke, but I share it out with people to use too. I don't mind if people use it to make their own videos either. But yeah, it's cardkaizoku.com. Would be good to remember my name because I do contribute a lot to the community, I feel, at least. I don't know what you guys think, but okay, that's gonna be it for now before my voice is shot because I am still kind of sick. I don't know if that has shown through in the video, but that's gonna be it for now. Until next time, bye.
Card Kaizoku.